chosen one, why does your heart pound at 3 a.m. when the house is silent? Why does grief sit on your chest like a stone you can't name? Why, after 70, 80 years of faithful prayers, does it feel like God stopped answering? Heaven interrupted your timeline today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. And if you're hearing my voice right now, if something pulled you to this message like gravity pulling water, it's because the Almighty Himself reached into the noise of your scrolling and said, "Stop. This one is mine." Listen to me carefully, beloved. You didn't find this message. This message found you. I know what you're carrying. I see you sitting there, maybe in that worn chair by the window where you've cried more tears than your children will ever know. Maybe lying in bed at 2 p.m. because your body hurts and the doctor's appointments never end. Maybe staring at your phone, wondering why your own family forgot to call again this week. You feel invisible, don't you? Like the world moved on without asking your permission. Like you've been sidelined by time itself. But let me tell you something that's going to shatter that lie. God's silence doesn't mean God's absence. His delays are not His denials. And the very fact that you're still breathing, still hoping, still hungry for something more, is proof, undeniable proof, that your assignment isn't finished. There is one divine command hidden in today's message. Just one. But if you miss it, if you scroll past this moment, if you let doubt convince you this is just another video, the breakthrough you've been begging for will pass you by like wind through an open door. Before I go deeper, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let that seed of faith rise. Now hear me clearly. Will you listen? Or will you walk away from the very command you've been praying for? If your spirit already feels stirred, if something ancient just woke up in your chest, comment below right now. I'm listening, Lord. Let heaven witness your yes. You have no idea what's about to be revealed in the next 7 minutes, but God does. And He's been waiting your entire life for this moment. Why have the last 3 years felt like hell on earth? Why did your health collapse right when you thought you were finally safe? Why did the people you loved most turn their backs on you when you needed them desperately? Listen to me, chosen one. What you've been calling bad luck, what you've been calling coincidence, what you've been blaming on your age or your failures, it was neither random nor accidental. You've been under spiritual attack. And the reason it intensified is because hell saw something heaven was preparing to release through you. The nights feel longer now, don't they? That silence in your house, it's heavier than it used to be. You wake up at 3 a.m. and the darkness feels thick, like it's pressing down on your chest. Your own thoughts betray you in those hours. They whisper that you're forgotten, that you're too old, that your time has passed, that even God has moved on to younger, stronger vessels. But let me tell you what's really been happening while you've been crying into your pillow, wondering if anyone sees you anymore. Every attack you've faced in the last 5 years, the financial crisis that came out of nowhere, the diagnosis that terrified you, the family member who stopped calling, the church that made you feel invisible, these weren't signs that God abandoned you. They were signs that the enemy recognized what God was about to do. Think about it. The devil doesn't waste ammunition on empty targets. Satan doesn't deploy his fiercest demons against people who pose no threat to his kingdom. But you've been in his crosshairs since the day you said yes to God, because he knows something about your destiny that you're just now beginning to remember. The Bible tells us in 1 Peter 4:12, "Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery trial when it comes upon you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. That word fiery, it's not poetry, it's prophecy. You've been in the refining fire, and fire does two things. It either destroys what's worthless, or it purifies what's precious. You're still here. That means you're gold. But here's what the enemy didn't count on. Every time he attacked your finances, you learned to trust God as your provider. Every time he attacked your health, you discovered that your strength doesn't come from your body, it comes from the Spirit living inside you. Every time he isolated you, you learned to hear God's voice in the silence. The wilderness wasn't your punishment, beloved. It was your training ground. Moses spent 40 years in the desert before God appeared in that burning bush. 40 years. Can you imagine? 80 years old, tending sheep, probably wondering if his life meant anything at all. But what Moses didn't know was that God was using every single day of that wilderness to prepare him for the greatest assignment in human history. The Moses who fled Egypt as a murderer couldn't have handled what the Moses who emerged from the burning bush was about to carry. Your wilderness has been doing the same work in you. Every closed door taught you that God's timing is perfect. Every betrayal taught you to stop trusting man and start trusting the Almighty. Every night you cried yourself to sleep. Every morning you didn't think you could get out of bed but did anyway. Those weren't wasted days. Those were boot camp. Those were spiritual warfare training. Those were God building something in you that cannot be shaken. And now, right now, you're about to discover why. The pressure you've felt increasing over the last year, the sense that everything is coming to a head, the feeling that something massive is about to break open in your life, that's not anxiety. That's anticipation. That's your spirit recognizing that the warfare is about to shift. Because every attack intensified because heaven was aligning you for one command. Just one. A single divine directive that's been written in eternity with your name on it. Waiting for this exact moment when you would be refined enough, tested enough, proven enough to handle what God is about to place in your hands. Job understood this. The Bible says in Job 23:10, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." Job lost everything, his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. But what he gained was something the comfortable will never possess: unshakable faith. Faith that doesn't depend on circumstances. Faith that can say, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him." That's your faith now, isn't it? After everything you've been through, after every reason to give up, after every excuse to walk away, you're still here, still believing, still trusting, still hungry for God. Before this video ends, you will understand the real reason God waited until today. You will see why every delay was strategic, why every setback was actually a setup, why every tear you cried was being collected in heaven's bottles as evidence that you were ready for this moment. What you thought was punishment was actually preparation. If you feel the warfare in your life hasn't been random, if something in your spirit is recognizing that every battle was leading to this breakthrough, type below right now, "I refuse to miss this command." Let heaven see that you're ready to receive what hell tried so desperately to prevent. Because what I'm about to reveal next will explain why you had to go through everything you went through to get to where you are right now. You know that question that haunts you at night, don't you? The one you're afraid to say out loud. The one that sits in your chest like a stone you can't swallow. Has God forgotten me? 70 years old, 80, maybe 90. And somewhere along the way, his voice got quieter. The prayers that used to feel like conversations now feel like whispers into empty air. You remember when you were younger, when God's presence was so thick you could almost taste it. But now? Now it feels like you're talking to ceiling tiles. And the enemy whispers, "See, you're too old now. God's moved on to younger believers. Your season is over." But let me tell you something that's going to shake the foundation of that lie. God's silence wasn't abandonment, it was assignment. Look at Job. This man lost everything, his children, his wealth, his health. And where was God? Silent. For 37 chapters, Job cried out, questioned, begged for answers. His friends accused him. His wife told him to curse God and die. But heaven? Heaven said nothing, until chapter 38. Then the Almighty spoke. And when he did, Job fell on his face and said, I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. You see, beloved, Job didn't need more words. He needed transformation, and transformation only happens in the furnace of silence. The same thing happened to Joseph. Remember him? 17 years old with a dream from God. Then betrayal, slavery, false accusation, prison, 13 years of silence, 13 years of wondering if God had made a mistake, 13 years of watching the promise die a slow death in an Egyptian dungeon. But Genesis 39-21 says something that will wreck you. The Lord was with Joseph. Not the Lord found Joseph later. Not the Lord came back eventually. The Lord was with Joseph, present tense, in the pit, in Potiphar's house, in the prison. God was there in the silence, studying Joseph's heart, watching to see if this boy would worship when he couldn't see, if he would serve when he couldn't understand, if he would remain faithful when faithfulness made no logical sense. Your silence has been the same test. Heaven has been watching you. Not with distance, with attention. Divine, focused, loving attention. God has been studying your heart the way a jeweler studies a diamond under magnification, looking for flaws that need to be burned away, looking for clarity that can only come through pressure. You think he forgot you? He's been refining you. You think he stopped listening? He's been waiting to see if you'd still move when you couldn't hear. Think about a seed. When you plant it in the ground, what happens? It disappears. You cover it with dirt. It sits in total darkness. No sunlight, no air, no visible evidence that anything is happening at all. And if that seed could speak, it would probably say, I think the gardener forgot about me. But the gardener didn't forget. The gardener is watching, waiting, because he knows something the seed doesn't know, that darkness isn't death. Darkness is gestation. Your silence has been your soil, and what God has been growing in you during these quiet years cannot grow anywhere else. Most people fail this part of the test. They get to the silence and they quit. They decide God's timing is too slow, his methods too painful, his delays too long, so they walk away. They stop praying. They stop believing. They convince themselves that if God really cared, he would have shown up by now. But you didn't quit, did you? You're still here, still watching this message, still hoping, still hungry for more. And that right there is why the command is being given now. God wasn't testing whether you were strong enough. He was testing whether you were surrendered enough. Because the command he's about to give you requires someone who has learned to obey even when they can't see the outcome. Someone who has learned to trust even when the evidence contradicts the promise. Someone who has learned to worship in the dark. Psalm 30:5 says it perfectly. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. But here's what most people miss. The night is long. Sometimes it's years long. Sometimes it's decades long, but the length of the night doesn't determine the certainty of the morning. Your morning is breaking right now. God's quiet wasn't distance, it was divine attention. He was closer to you in the silence than he ever was in the noise. He was whispering things into your spirit that your ears couldn't hear, but your soul was recording. He was downloading wisdom, building character, establishing authority that can only be forged in the secret place. And now, right now, you're about to understand why the silence was necessary. Because what God is about to command you to do, you couldn't have done 5 years ago. You weren't ready. You didn't have the depth. You didn't have the trust. You didn't have the unshakable confidence that comes from walking through valleys where only God's hand could guide you. But now you do. So let me ask you something that's going to determine everything. What if the silence you've been dreading was actually the signal you've been missing? What if God wasn't far away, he was just building something in you that required darkness to develop? What if your greatest test is finally over, and your greatest assignment is about to begin? You want to know why your life has been so hard? Why every step forward felt like walking through fire? Why every blessing came wrapped in barbed wire? Why you've had to fight for things that seem to fall into other people's laps like rain? Let me tell you something that's going to shatter everything you thought you knew about your pain. The fire wasn't trying to destroy you, it was trying to reveal you. Listen to me, beloved. I'm talking to the grandmother who raised children alone after he walked out. I'm talking to the grandfather who worked 3 jobs and still couldn't save the house. I'm talking to every soul sitting here who's buried more people than they've celebrated birthdays with. You've survived storms that younger hearts couldn't endure. You've carried burdens that would have crushed softer spirits. And you've spent decades wondering, God, why me? Why did I have to walk through fire when others got to walk on water? Here's why. Because heaven turned up the heat, because you could take it. Malachi 3:3 says, He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver. Do you understand what that means? A refiner doesn't walk away from the furnace. He sits, he watches. He never takes his eyes off the metal, because one moment too long and the gold is ruined. One moment too short and the impurities remain. God has been sitting beside your fire your entire life. Every betrayal that should have made you bitter, he was watching. Every financial collapse that should have destroyed your faith, he was monitoring the temperature. Every diagnosis that should have made you give up, he was adjusting the flame. Because he wasn't trying to burn you up. He was burning away everything that wasn't you. Think about diamonds, dear one. You know what creates a diamond? Pressure. Crushing, unbearable pressure deep beneath the earth where no light reaches. For millions of years, carbon sits in darkness under weight that would pulverize ordinary stone. But that pressure doesn't destroy the carbon. It transforms it into the hardest, most valuable substance on earth. You are that diamond. The pressure you've endured, the loneliness that crushed your chest at night, the grief that made you wonder if you'd ever breathe normally again, the fear that wrapped around your throat when the bills came and the bank account was empty, that wasn't punishment. That was transformation. But here's what breaks my heart. Here's what the enemy has been whispering in your ear for decades. You're damaged goods. You're broken. You're too scarred to be used by God. That's a lie straight from hell. Your scars aren't disqualifications. They're your resume. Every wound you carry is evidence that you walked through what should have killed you and came out alive. Every tear you've cried has watered seeds of compassion that will feed hungry souls. Every sleepless night you've survived has trained you to intercede for others when darkness falls. Job understood this. He lost everything: his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. His own wife told him to curse God and die. But Job said something that should echo in your spirit right now. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. Job 23:10. Not if, when. Job knew the fire had a finish line. You've been in the furnace so long you forgot what you looked like before the flames. You've been under pressure so intense you can't remember who you were before the weight. But I'm here to tell you the refining is almost complete. The transformation is nearly finished. And what's about to emerge from this fire will shock everyone who thought you were done. See, younger people have enthusiasm. But you have authority. They have dreams. You have proven faith. They have energy. You have endurance that's been tested by decades of showing up when you didn't feel like it, believing when you couldn't see it, trusting when it made no sense. Moses was 80 when God called him to deliver a nation. 80. The world would have put him in a nursing home. But God said, Now you're ready. Now you know what it means to depend on me completely, because your own strength ran out 40 years ago. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain, not give me a rocking chair. Give me the giants. Give me the impossible. Give me the battle nobody else wants." Because he understood something that took 8 decades to learn. The fire doesn't weaken you when God is the refiner. It makes you dangerous. That depression that nearly killed you in your 50s, it taught you how to recognize when someone else is drowning and throw them a lifeline before they go under. That betrayal that shattered your trust, it gave you discernment that can spot a lie from 3 miles away. That financial ruin that left you eating beans and rice, it proved that your security isn't in your bank account, it's in your relationship with the God who owns every bank. The fire didn't burn you, it revealed you. And what it revealed is this: you are not ordinary, you are not average, you are not just another senior citizen marking time until heaven. You are refined gold. You are a diamond formed under pressure. You are a warrior who's been trained in the furnace of real life, while others were playing church in air-conditioned comfort. But here's the urgency burning in my spirit right now. You've survived the fire, you've endured the pressure, you've come through the refining process. But if you don't step into what that fire prepared you for, if you sit on the sidelines believing the lie that your best days are behind you, then all that pain, all that pressure, all that refining was for nothing. God didn't preserve you through hell just so you could retire into irrelevance. What you call scars, heaven calls signatures. God's signature on your life, proof that you belong to Him, evidence that you've been marked, tested, and approved for assignments that require someone who can't be shaken because they've already survived the earthquake. If you know you were meant for more, if something in your spirit is confirming that the fire wasn't your end but your preparation, comment right now. Refine me, Lord. Let heaven see that you're not running from the heat anymore. You're running toward your purpose. Because the refiner is standing up from his seat. The furnace door is opening, and what's about to step out will prove that the fire doesn't destroy the chosen, it only makes them shine brighter. But will you believe it? Will you finally see yourself the way heaven sees you? Or will you keep living like you're damaged when God says you're dangerous? The fire shaped you. Now it's time to discover what you were shaped for. You're standing at a crossroads right now, chosen one. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean literally, spiritually, cosmically. You are standing at the most critical intersection of your entire life. And what you decide in the next few minutes will determine whether you step into your destiny or spend your remaining years wondering what could have been. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How many times have you chosen comfort over calling? How many times has God whispered go, and you whispered back, not yet? How many divine appointments have you missed because the couch felt safer than the cross? I'm not judging you, beloved. I'm exposing the enemy's greatest weapon against the elderly, the lie that it's too late, that you've earned the right to coast, that your assignment expired with your retirement. But listen to me carefully. Moses was 80 years old when God called him from that burning bush. 80. And God didn't say, "Moses, you've done enough. Go enjoy your golden years." No, God said, Now is when I need you most." Joshua 24-15 cuts straight to the heart. Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when your health improves or your kids finally call back. This day, today, right now. You see, every single decision you've made in the last 6 months has been leading to this moment. That sudden urge to pray more that was preparation, that restlessness in your spirit when you're watching television that was divine discontent, that inexplicable pull to seek God's face at odd hours, that was heaven positioning you for what I'm about to reveal. God has been orchestrating your steps, beloved. Every closed door redirected you, every disappointment refined you. Every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if you still mattered. God was building something in you that comfort could never create. But here's where it gets dangerous. Here's where the enemy starts screaming, because right now you're feeling something stir, something ancient, something that's been buried under years of playing it safe. And you have two choices: silence it or surrender to it. This is not a small test. Everything shifts based on how you respond now. Think about Abraham in Genesis 22. God told him to sacrifice Isaac, the son he'd waited 100 years for. The promise made flesh. And Abraham had to choose the comfort of keeping what he loved or the calling to trust what God commanded. He chose calling, and because he did, nations were blessed through his obedience. What is God asking you to sacrifice right now? Your need to understand everything before you move, your addiction to approval from children who don't understand your walk, your fear of looking foolish at your age. I'm telling you something that's going to shake you. The command God is about to give you will make absolutely no sense to your natural mind. It will sound impossible. It will feel uncomfortable. It will require you to move when your body wants to rest. Speak when your voice feels weak. Believe when logic screams doubt. But that's how you know it's from God. Because God doesn't call the equipped, beloved. He equips the called. And he doesn't wait until you're comfortable. He moves when you're surrendered. Right here, right now, heaven is watching you make a choice. Not next week when you've thought about it more. Not after you've consulted with people who will talk you out of your destiny. Now, the angels are leaning in. The cloud of witnesses, every ancestor who prayed for breakthrough in your bloodline, they're watching. Your grandmother who cried out for someone in this family to break the chains, she's watching. And God himself is waiting to see if you'll be like the rich young ruler who walked away sad, or like Peter who dropped his nets and followed immediately. Luke 9:62 says it plainly. No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God. You can't move forward while clutching yesterday's comfort. You can't step into calling while clinging to the familiar. So let me ask you the question that will define your legacy. Will you choose the rocking chair, or will you choose the burning bush? Will you choose the safe harbor, or will you choose the storm where Jesus walks on water? Will you choose to fade quietly into the background, or will you roar one last time for the glory of God? Because I need you to understand something that most preachers won't tell you. Your next chapter isn't about you. It's about every person God wants to reach through your obedience. It's about your grandchildren who need to see that faith doesn't retire. It's about your community that needs to witness what happens when someone chooses God over comfort in their final act. The enemy wants you to believe you're too old, too tired, too broken. But God is saying you're too valuable, too seasoned, too dangerous to the kingdom of darkness to sit on the sidelines now. This is your Esther moment, for such a time as this. Not for such a time as when you were younger, not for such a time as when you had more energy. For this time, this exact moment, this crossroads. In exactly a few minutes, I will reveal the command God gave me for you, but first, you must choose. Not with your words, but with your will. Not with your emotions, but with your obedience. If you're ready, if something in your spirit just shifted from maybe to yes, then declare your decision right now in the comments. I choose calling. Say it out loud. Let your own ears hear what your spirit is deciding. Let heaven record your covenant. Let hell tremble at your commitment. Because, beloved, heaven rearranges itself when a chosen one finally says yes. Mountains move, seas part, giants fall, impossibilities bow. Not because you're strong enough, but because the God who called you is faithful enough. The crossroads isn't tomorrow, it's now, and your answer will echo through eternity. So what will it be, chosen one? Comfort or calling? Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. There's something the enemy has been doing in your life that you haven't recognized yet. And if I don't tell you this truth right now, you might miss the very command God is trying to deliver to you today. The devil doesn't always come as darkness. He comes as light. He doesn't always whisper, give up. Sometimes he whispers, take this easier path. He doesn't always steal your blessing. Sometimes he offers you a counterfeit so convincing you'll trade the real thing for fool's gold. 2 Corinthians 11:14 says it plainly. Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light, not as a demon, not as obvious evil, as light, as goodness, as opportunity. And right now, in this season of your life, when you're tired and you've been waiting so long, when your body aches and your bank account is thin and your children barely call right now, when you're most vulnerable, the enemy is preparing his final assault. Not with fire and brimstone, with imitation blessings. Let me paint you a picture. You've been praying for financial breakthrough for 20 years. 20 years of crying out to God, believing His promises, standing on His word, and suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, an opportunity appears. A phone call, an email, someone offering you exactly what you've been asking for. Quick money, easy solution, no waiting required. It looks like an answer to prayer. It feels urgent. The person on the other end says, you need to act now. This window won't stay open. Your heart races. Your mind calculates. You think, finally, God came through. But there's something wrong, something you can't quite name. A flutter in your spirit, a whisper that says, wait. But the voice on the phone is louder. The urgency is pressing. The opportunity is fading. So you ignore that whisper. You silence that warning, and you leap. 6 months later, you realize you've been scammed. The money is gone. The promise was empty. And worse than losing money, you lost something more precious. You lost trust. You started questioning if you can even hear God's voice anymore. Dear one, do you see what just happened? The enemy didn't need to stop you from praying. He just needed to give you something that looked like the answer before the real answer arrived. This is spiritual warfare at its most cunning. The counterfeit always comes before the authentic. Always. Ishmael came before Isaac. Saul came before David. The Antichrist will come before Christ returns. And the reason it works so well on people your age, and I say this with deep compassion, is because you're running out of time. You feel it in your bones. You see it in the mirror. Every birthday reminds you that the clock is ticking, and you wonder, how much longer do I have to wait? That desperation, that sense of urgency, the enemy weaponizes it. He whispers, God's taking too long. He must want you to help him out. He must want you to take this shortcut. And before you know it, you've stepped outside of divine timing and into disaster. But here's the key that will save your life. Peace is heaven's signature. Anything that steals your peace is not from God. Did you catch that? Write it down. Tattoo it on your heart. Peace is heaven's signature. When God gives you a true command, a real opportunity, an authentic blessing, it comes with peace. Not excitement necessarily, not always immediate joy, but peace, a deep, settled knowing in your spirit that says, this is right, this is mine, this is safe. Colossians 3:15 tells us, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. That word rule in Greek is brabeo. It means to act as an umpire. Peace is supposed to be the referee in your decision-making. When peace says safe, you move forward. When peace says out of bounds, you stop. The counterfeit offers what looks right but feels wrong. The authentic offers what might look confusing but feels peaceful. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How many times in your life have you ignored that inner warning? How many times have you pushed past that quiet no in your spirit because the opportunity looked too good to pass up? How many times have you regretted not listening to that still, small voice? That voice? That's the Holy Spirit. And He's trying to protect you from the counterfeit right now. Because here's what the enemy knows that you might not. God is about to release something real into your life. Something authentic. Something that will shift everything. And if the devil can get you to grab the fake version 3 days before the real one arrives, he wins. You'll be holding fool's gold when heaven tries to hand you treasure. This is why the divine command matters. This is why you can't afford to miss what God is saying today. Because the command isn't just instruction, it's protection. It's a divine firewall between you and the enemy's final deception. The devil cannot take what God has sealed. He cannot steal what heaven has assigned to you. But he can distract you. He can deceive you. He can get you to walk away from the real thing by accepting the imitation. Think about Esau. He sold his birthright for a bowl of soup, one meal, one moment of hunger. And he traded his eternal inheritance for temporary satisfaction. Genesis 25-34 says, "So Esau despised his birthright. He despised it, not because it had no value, but because in that moment, soup felt more real than promise." You are standing at that exact crossroads right now. The enemy is offering you soup, something that satisfies the immediate ache, something that feels urgent, something that looks like relief. But God is holding your birthright, your inheritance, your true calling, your authentic breakthrough. Which one will you choose? Here's the truth that will set you free. If it requires you to compromise your peace, it's not from God. If it demands immediate action without prayer, it's not from God. If it promises everything but delivers anxiety, it's not from God. The divine command that's coming will feel different. It will ask something of you. Yes, it will require faith, absolutely, but it won't steal your peace. It won't create chaos in your spirit. It won't leave you questioning whether you heard correctly. So right now, before we go any further, I need you to ask yourself one question. What have I been chasing that God never told me to pursue? What door have I been trying to force open that heaven already closed? What counterfeit have I been clutching while the real blessing waits in the wings? Because the command you're about to receive will require both hands. And you can't catch what God is throwing if your fists are already full of fool's gold. The devil's final attempt to stop you isn't an attack, it's an offer. And the only way to recognize it is to know the signature of heaven, peace. So, here's what I need to know. Are you ready to let go of the counterfeit so you can receive the authentic? Listen to me, chosen one. Right now, in this sacred moment, I need you to stop everything. Stop the worry. Stop the planning. Stop the frantic searching for answers that keep you awake when the world sleeps. Because what I'm about to tell you will either change everything, or you'll dismiss it and spend the rest of your days wondering why breakthrough never came. There is a divine command that heaven is releasing over your life today. Not a suggestion, not advice from a well-meaning preacher. A command, direct from the throne room of the Almighty God, who knows your name, who counts the hairs on your head, who has numbered every tear you've ever cried into your pillow at 3 a.m. And here it is. Write this down. Engrave it on your heart. Let it become the rhythm of your breathing. Be still, wait, trust, and do not move until peace returns. I know what you're thinking. That's it? That's the command? I need action. I need answers. I need breakthrough now. But beloved, that's exactly why you're still stuck. That's exactly why the door hasn't opened. That's exactly why you've been running in circles for the last 5, 10, 20 years. You've been moving in panic when God is calling you to position in peace. Think about what you're facing right now. That health decision that's consuming your thoughts. Do you take the surgery or wait? That family conflict that's tearing your heart apart. Do you speak up or stay silent? That financial crisis that keeps you checking your bank account at midnight. Do you sell everything or hold on? And in all that noise, all that pressure, all that fear screaming at you to do something, God is whispering the same command he gave to the Israelites at the Red Sea when Pharaoh's army was charging. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Be still, not passive, not lazy, not giving up, but positioned, anchored, rooted in the certainty that God has not brought you this far to abandon you now. You want to know why you keep making the wrong decisions? Why you keep choosing paths that lead to more pain? Because you're moving before the peace comes. You're stepping before the guidance arrives. You're running on fear instead of waiting for faith to catch up. Your next step must be guided, not guessed. Let me tell you something about Moses that most preachers won't tell you. When God called him at the burning bush, Moses was 80 years old. 80. He'd spent 40 years in Pharaoh's palace learning to be somebody, then 40 years in the wilderness learning to be nobody. 40 years of waiting, 40 years of tending sheep, 40 years of wondering if he'd wasted his entire life. But those 40 years weren't wasted. They were preparation. God was teaching Moses to be still, to wait, to trust. Because when you're leading 2 million complaining people through a desert with no water, no food, and enemies on every side, you better know how to hear God's voice above the chaos. And here you are, 70, 75, 80 years old, thinking your best years are behind you, thinking you've missed your moment, thinking God's moved on to younger, stronger, more capable vessels. But what if those decades of waiting, those years of stillness, those seasons when nothing seemed to be happening, what if all of that was God teaching you the most important lesson of your life? What if he was training you to recognize his voice in the silence? This divine command, be still, wait, trust, is not a delay tactic. It's your shield against enemy lies. It's your compass through confusion. It's your harvest key that unlocks everything God has been preparing in secret while you've been faithful in the waiting. Abraham waited 25 years for Isaac. 25 years. Can you imagine? Every month, every year, watching Sarah's body grow older, watching the promise seem more impossible. But Genesis 21:1 says, "Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised." Not when Abraham thought it should happen. When God said it would happen. Your waiting is not wasted time. Your stillness is not weakness. Your trust is not foolishness. It's the very posture that positions you to receive what panic would cause you to miss. But here's what breaks my heart. Here's what keeps me up at night praying for people just like you. You're so close. You're standing right at the edge of your Red Sea moment. The promise is right there. The breakthrough is within reach. But instead of being still and watching God split the waters, you're trying to build a boat. You're trying to negotiate with Pharaoh. You're trying to find your own way across. And all God is saying is, be still, wait, trust me, I've got this. This command is not advice, beloved. This is heaven's instruction, the path to what was promised. So let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to your soul. What are you afraid will happen if you just stop? If you just stand still and let God be God? What are you terrified you'll lose if you wait one more day, one more week, one more season? Right, I receive the command if your heart knows this word is for you. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Just let your spirit respond to what heaven is speaking, because what I'm about to show you next will prove that your stillness isn't surrender. It's the most powerful weapon you possess. You thought the hardest part was over, didn't you? You prayed. You believed. You waited through that first brutal season when heaven seemed locked and your cries bounced off a concrete sky. And then finally you felt something shift. A whisper, a sign, a crack of light through the darkness. You thought, this is it. My breakthrough is coming. But then nothing. Again. Except this time, It's different. This silence doesn't feel like the first one. The first silence was confusion. This silence is heavier, stranger, like standing in a doctor's office waiting for test results that will change everything. Like sitting in that chair at 2 a.m. when the phone rings and you just know life is about to split into before and after. Dear chosen one, what you're experiencing right now has a name. It's called the second silence, and most believers never make it through. Let me tell you why this silence is so dangerous. The first silence tests your faith, but the second silence tests your stamina. It asks a question most people refuse to answer. Will you keep believing when belief costs you everything and gives you nothing? You've lived long enough to know what I'm talking about. You buried your husband after 43 years of marriage. You sat in that funeral home choosing caskets when you should have been choosing vacation destinations. You've spent nights in hospital waiting rooms where time moves like molasses and every footstep in the hallway makes your heart stop. You've opened bills you couldn't pay. You've dialed phone numbers your children don't answer anymore. You know what waiting costs. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. This second silence isn't abandonment. It's calibration. God isn't ignoring you. He's fine-tuning you for a frequency this world has never heard before. Think about it. Right before dawn, there's a moment when the darkness is deepest. Right before a symphony begins, the conductor raises his hand, and the entire orchestra goes silent, not because the music is over, but because something magnificent is about to begin. Right before that doctor walks through the door with news that will rewrite your story, there's that impossible pause where your whole life hangs suspended between what was and what's coming. That's where you are right now. The prophet Habakkuk knew this silence. He cried out in chapter 1 verse 2, "How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen?" But then in chapter 2 verse 3, God answered him with words that should shake you to your core. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Did you catch that? Though it linger, wait for it. God wasn't late. God was on time for a clock Habakkuk couldn't see yet. But here's what breaks my heart. Most people quit in the second silence. They made it through the first valley. They climbed out of the first pit. They survived the first betrayal, the first diagnosis, the first season of feeling forgotten. But when the second silence came, when they thought they'd paid their dues and earned their breakthrough, they couldn't do it again. They stopped praying, stopped believing, stopped showing up. They traded their inheritance for the comfort of giving up. Don't you dare be one of them. You're 78 years old and you're still here. You're 83 and you're still breathing. You're 91 and you're still believing. Do you think that's an accident? Do you think your survival is random? No, beloved. You've been kept alive for this exact moment. Every year you thought was wasted was actually training. Every disappointment was building spiritual muscle. Every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if God remembered your name. He was engraving it deeper into the palms of his hands. Isaiah 49:16 says it plainly. "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." Not written, not typed, engraved, permanent, unchangeable. You are carved into the hands of the Almighty. But the second silence demands something the first silence didn't. It demands that you trust God's character more than you trust your circumstances. It demands that you believe his promises when every single piece of evidence screams that he's forgotten you. This is not passive waiting. This is warfare. This is you telling hell itself, "I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what it feels like. I don't care if I die waiting. My God is faithful, and if he said it, it's already done." Heaven is watching what you do in the second silence, not the first. Because anyone can believe when things are moving. Anyone can praise when prayers are answered. Anyone can trust when they see the path ahead, but it takes someone rare, someone refined, someone who's walked through enough fires to know that God doesn't burn what he's building. It takes that kind of person to stand in the second silence and refuse to move. So, here's my question for you, and answer it honestly in your spirit right now. Are you going to quit in the second silence, or are you going to let this silence become the womb of your greatest miracle? Because what's about to be revealed next will show you exactly what God has been building while you've been waiting in the dark. Listen to me, chosen one. Right now, this very second, something is shifting in the spiritual realm, and the closer you get to your breakthrough, the louder the noise becomes. You think that's coincidence. You think it's random that just when you started feeling hope again, chaos exploded in your living room. Just when you sensed God moving, suddenly your phone rang with crisis after crisis. Just when peace began settling over your spirit, old wounds you thought were healed started bleeding again. That's not bad luck, beloved. That's spiritual warfare. Hell cannot defeat you, so it distracts you. Let me tell you something that's going to cut straight to the bone. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on people who pose no threat. He doesn't mobilize his forces against believers who are content to sit in the pew and fade quietly into irrelevance. But you carry something that terrifies the kingdom of darkness. And right now, as heaven is preparing to release the very thing you've been praying for, hell is launching its most vicious counterattack, not to stop you, to distract you. Think about Nehemiah rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Nehemiah 4-8 tells us that when the enemies saw the work progressing, they all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and stir up trouble against it. Notice that. The attacks didn't come when the work was stagnant. They came when the walls were rising, when breakthrough was visible, when completion was near. Your life right now is Nehemiah's wall, and the enemy sees what you can't see yet, that you're closer than you've ever been. So what does he do? He sends distractions disguised as emergencies. He resurrects old arguments with family members you thought you'd made peace with. He triggers memories of failures from 30 years ago that suddenly feel fresh as yesterday's wound. He floods your mailbox with bills, your body with pain, your mind with fears about tomorrow. And here's his most deceptive move. He uses nostalgia. Oh, this is where he gets older believers every single time. He whispers, "Remember when you had energy? Remember when you mattered? Remember when people needed you?" He replays highlight reels of your younger years until you're so busy mourning what you've lost that you miss what God's about to give you. The enemy uses nostalgia to drag you back into battles you've already won. But let me tell you what's really happening. When the devil shows you your past, he's not showing you the truth. He's showing you a counterfeit, a distorted mirror. Because your past wasn't as perfect as he's making it seem, and your present isn't as hopeless as he wants you to believe. You want proof? Look at your life right now. You're still here. After everything hell threw at you, you're still standing, still believing, still hungry for God. That's not weakness. That's evidence of divine protection over someone carrying an assignment the enemy desperately wants to abort. 2 Corinthians 2:11 warns us, "We are not ignorant of his devices." Paul knew something that modern believers forget. The devil is predictable. He uses the same tired playbook. And his number one play? Distraction right before breakthrough. So, what are the signs? What does this distraction look like in your 70-year-old, 80-year-old, 90-year-old life? Sudden health crises that consume all your energy, family drama that explodes out of nowhere, financial pressures that make you panic instead of pray, exhaustion so deep you can barely lift your Bible, and the most dangerous one, a strange numbness that makes you want to give up right before you cross the finish line. That's the counter move, beloved. That's hell's Hail Mary pass. But here's what the enemy didn't count on. You've lived long enough to recognize his voice. You've walked with God long enough to know the difference between His conviction and Satan's condemnation. You've survived enough decades to understand that when chaos intensifies, breakthrough is imminent. When hell cannot defeat you, it distracts you. But when you recognize the distraction, you become unstoppable. Now I need you to understand something that's going to change everything. You're not fighting the devil, you're fighting your old self. That voice telling you to quit, that's not Satan. That's the version of you that's terrified of what happens if God actually comes through this time. That impulse to run back to familiar dysfunction, that's not demonic attack. That's your old nature desperately trying to maintain control. The real battle isn't out there, it's in here, in your mind, in your will, in the sacred space where you decide whether to believe God's promise or your circumstances. Moses stood at the Red Sea with 2 million people behind him and the Egyptian army charging forward. Exodus 14:13 records what he said, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today." Stand firm, not run, not panic, not strategize. Stand. That's your instruction for this moment. The distraction is coming, or maybe it's already here. But so is the deliverance. The question that will determine everything is this: will you let the countermove derail you right at the gate? Or will you recognize it for what it is, proof that your breakthrough is so close that hell is panicking? Because what I'm about to reveal next will give you the weapon to cut through every distraction and walk straight into what God has prepared for you. You want to know why you're still here? Why you survived that car accident in 1987 when the doctors said you shouldn't have? Why you woke up from that surgery when your family was already planning your funeral? Why, against all medical logic, your heart kept beating when the monitors showed flatline? Let me tell you something that's going to change everything you thought you knew about your life. You were never alone. Not for 1 second. There are beings, holy, ancient, powerful beings, who have been assigned to you since before you drew your first breath. The Bible calls them watchers, guardians, messengers of the Most High. And right now, as I speak these words, they are standing in this room with you. Hebrews 1:14 asks the question plainly: are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? Not some angels, not a few angels, all angels, sent, assigned, commissioned by heaven itself to stand watch over the chosen ones. You think you've been walking through life by yourself? You think those 70, 80, 90 years have been you against the world? No, beloved, you've had an army you couldn't see fighting battles you never knew were being waged. Remember that night in 1994 when something told you not to take that highway? You couldn't explain it. There was no logical reason. But something inside you, call it instinct, call it intuition, something whispered, take the back roads. And the next morning you saw the news, a pileup on that exact stretch of highway, 23 cars. 7 people didn't make it home. That wasn't luck, dear one. That was a watcher whispering in your spirit. Remember when your grandson was 3 years old and he wandered toward the pool? You were inside. You couldn't have known. But something made you look out that window at that exact second. You ran. You grabbed him. 3 more seconds and he would have been underwater. That wasn't coincidence. That was a guardian angel positioning you in the right place at the divine moment. Remember when you were about to sign those papers, that business deal that seemed too good to be true, and at the last minute, peace left you. A heaviness settled in your gut. You walked away, and 6 months later, you found out it was a scam that would have destroyed your life savings. That wasn't paranoia. That was heaven protecting what hell was trying to steal. You see, Psalm 91:11 makes a promise so powerful it should make your knees buckle. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways, not some, not the good ones, all of them, every step, every decision, Every moment when the enemy tried to take you out before your assignment was complete. But here's what's going to shake you to your core. These watchers, these divine beings who have been protecting you, guiding you, standing between you and destruction, they don't just guard, they record. Daniel 7:10 shows us the courtroom of heaven. The court was seated, and the books were opened. Books, plural, scrolls upon scrolls documenting every act of faithfulness, every tear cried in secret, every prayer whispered when hope felt dead. Your life has been documented, beloved. Every sacrifice you made that nobody noticed. Every time you chose forgiveness when bitterness would have been easier. Every morning you got out of bed when depression told you to stay under the covers. Every bill you paid before you paid yourself. Every grandchild you prayed over. Every midnight hour you spent on your knees when the world was sleeping. The watchers saw it all, and they wrote it down. But they didn't just write it in some heavenly filing cabinet to be forgotten. No, they presented it before the throne of God as evidence. Evidence that you are worthy of what's about to be released in your life. Think about the woman in Luke 21. Jesus sat near the temple treasury, watching people give their offerings. The rich threw in their abundance, making sure everyone saw their generosity. But then came a widow, old, forgotten, invisible to everyone in that room. She dropped in 2 small copper coins, barely worth a penny. But Jesus stopped everything. He called his disciples. He said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all the others." Why? Because the watchers had reported her sacrifice. They had documented her faithfulness. And heaven itself stood at attention when she gave everything she had. That's you, chosen one. You think nobody sees your sacrifice? The watchers see. You think nobody knows how hard you've fought? The watchers know. You think your faithfulness in the dark went unnoticed? Heaven has been taking notes. But here's the urgency you need to understand right now. These watchers, these angels who have walked beside you for decades, they are about to deliver something. A sign, a confirmation, a divine appointment that will prove everything I'm telling you is true. It's coming. Not someday, not eventually. Soon, within days, maybe hours. And when it arrives, you'll know. You'll feel it in your spirit the same way you felt that whisper to take the back roads, the same way you sensed danger before it manifested, the same way peace left when you were about to make the wrong decision. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you recognize it when it comes? You survived because heaven stood between you and what was meant to destroy you. Your breath right now is evidence of angelic intervention. Your beating heart is proof that watchers have been working overtime on your behalf. And they're not done yet. You want to know why your prayers haven't been answered yet? You want to know why the breakthrough you've been crying for feels like it's taking forever? Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. God has been hiding the answer from you on purpose, not because he's cruel, not because he's forgotten, but because if he had revealed it too soon, you wouldn't have been ready to handle what comes with it. Listen to me, beloved. There are things in your life right now that you cannot see. Hidden enemies who smile at your table, hidden motives behind the people you trust most, hidden blessings buried beneath the rubble of what you thought was your greatest failure. And God, in his infinite wisdom, has kept them veiled until this exact moment. Why? Because premature revelation leads to premature destruction. Think about Joseph. Genesis 37 tells us he had dreams of greatness at 17 years old. He saw his brothers bowing before him. He saw himself ruling. But if God had made him a ruler at 17, Joseph would have been destroyed by his own arrogance. So what did God do? He hid Joseph in a pit, then in slavery, then in prison. For 13 years, Joseph sat in darkness, wondering if God had lied to him. But God wasn't punishing Joseph. God was protecting him from a destiny he wasn't mature enough to carry. You've been in your pit, haven't you? Your prison has had different names: loneliness, illness, financial ruin, family betrayal, and you've sat there year after year wondering, God, where are you? Why did you abandon me in this darkness? But what if I told you that darkness wasn't your tomb? What if that pit was actually your preparation? What if God has been hiding you from an enemy who would have killed your calling if you had stepped into it too soon? Psalm 31:20 says, "You hide them in the secret place of your presence, not from his presence in his presence." The hiding was the covering. The silence was the shield. But here's what's about to happen that will leave you breathless. God is about to turn the light on in a room you didn't know was dark. For years, you've been walking through your life, thinking you understood what was happening. You thought you knew who your friends were. You thought you understood why doors closed. You thought you had clarity on your past, your present, your future. But when God flips that switch, when he illuminates what's been hidden in shadows, you're going to see things that will make you fall to your knees in gratitude that he didn't let you see them sooner. You're going to see the person who was praying against you. You're going to see the opportunity that would have destroyed your family. You're going to see the relationship that was slowly poisoning your spirit. And you're going to finally understand why God kept saying no when you kept begging for yes. But that's not all he's revealing. The divine command that's coming to you today, the one heaven interrupted your timeline to deliver, it's going to expose what has been draining your spirit for years. That heaviness you wake up with every morning, that exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, that sense that something is feeding off your peace but you can't identify it. God is about to show you exactly what it is. And more importantly, he's about to show you how to cut it off forever. This is not a game, chosen one. This is not another sermon to make you feel good for an hour. This is a divine surgical procedure, and the Almighty is about to operate on areas of your life you didn't even know were infected. But I need you to understand something crucial right now. The revelation that's coming isn't just about exposing darkness. It's about restoring what darkness stole. Joel 2:25 declares, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the years the enemy stole, the decades you spent in confusion, the time you wasted on the wrong people, the opportunities you missed because you couldn't see clearly. God is preparing to restore it all. Not symbolically, not spiritually, literally. You're 75 years old thinking it's too late. God is about to give you clarity and purpose that makes your next 10 years more powerful than your last 50. You're 82 believing your influence is over. Heaven is preparing to amplify your voice in ways that will impact generations you'll never meet. You're sitting in that assisted living facility thinking you're forgotten. God is about to use you to spark a revival in that building that will shake the foundations of hell itself. The years the enemy stole, every single one of them, they're coming back with interest. But here's the urgency you need to feel in your bones right now. This revelation has a window. This moment of divine unveiling isn't going to last forever. When God pulls back the curtain and shows you what's been hidden, you have a choice to make. You can step into what he's revealing, or you can retreat back into comfortable blindness. And I'm telling you right now, if you choose blindness again, if you let fear convince you that seeing the truth is too painful, you will miss the greatest move of God in your entire life. This is the hour where the unseen becomes undeniable. The prophet Elisha knew this. In 2 Kings 6, when his servant woke up and saw the enemy army surrounding them, he panicked. "Master, what shall we do?" But Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes." And suddenly the servant saw what had been there all along: chariots of fire, armies of angels, heaven's protection surrounding them in greater force than the enemy could ever muster. What you're about to see in the next few minutes of this message is going to do the same thing for you. God is praying over you right now. Open their eyes. And what's about to be revealed will make every doubt, every fear, every moment of despair seem like the foolishness it always was. The shadows are shifting, beloved. The light is breaking through, and what was hidden in darkness is about to be shouted from the rooftops. But are you ready for what you're about to see? Are you prepared to walk in the truth even when it shatters everything you thought you knew? Because what comes next isn't just revelation, it's revolution. And you're standing at the edge of the greatest transformation of your entire life. Beloved chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred moment together, I need you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, God's silence was never his absence, it was his strategy. Every hidden season, every unanswered prayer, every moment you felt forgotten was him positioning you for revelation you couldn't have handled too soon. Second, the shadows are shifting right now. What was concealed in darkness is being brought into light. The divine command you've been waiting for isn't coming tomorrow. It's here, today, in this very moment. And your obedience to it will determine everything that happens next. Third, the years the enemy stole are being restored. Your age is not your disqualification, it's your authority. Your scars are not your shame, they're your credentials. And the best chapters of your story are being written right now. But hear me clearly, you are not walking this path alone. The God who interrupted your timeline today is still working, still moving, still orchestrating divine appointments in your life. And beyond that, you have a community right here, thousands of believers who understand your struggle, who've walked similar paths, who are ready to stand with you in prayer. So let me ask you this. Now that you know the command, now that the shadows have shifted, now that heaven has revealed what was hidden, what will you do with this moment? Let me pray over you before you go. Close your eyes wherever you are and receive this. Heavenly Father, I place my hand on the shoulder of every precious soul hearing these words. You know their name. You know their struggle. You know the battles they fight in silence. Lord, I pray that you would breathe fresh wind into their weary bones. Where they feel forgotten, remind them they are seen. Where they feel weak, be their strength. Where they feel confused, bring divine clarity. God, I pray for open doors that no man can shut. I pray for restored relationships, for healed bodies, for financial breakthroughs, for peace that surpasses understanding. I pray that every attack of the enemy would be turned back sevenfold. I pray that the years of drought would give way to decades of overflow. Most of all, Father, let them feel your presence right now. Let them know in their spirit that they are loved beyond measure, chosen beyond understanding, and called to purposes greater than they can imagine. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart today. Share your story. Ask for prayer. Let this community surround you with love. And please, share this message with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's been sitting in shadows, waiting for light. If this word touched your soul, subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. We're building something powerful here, a family of chosen ones who refuse to walk alone. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart. You are seen, you are loved, you are chosen. Until we meet again, walk in your divine command. God bless you mightily.